Hello everyone. Good morning. Thank you Vera for this. Thank you everyone for joining in. It's Chadi Sabra here. I can introduce myself as the devil that constructs structures by the sea or by the coastline. But for the record, I'm not an advocate for building stuff by the sea. However, this is my job. I'm not gonna. If we can move forward with the slides, I'm not gonna abide by the slides, Vera, just to cut down on time. I just want to mention a couple of things. What we do, or highlight a couple of things. What we do is coastal engineering, which is building anything by the sea, whatever you can imagine, from groins, breakwaters, sports marinas, quay walls, beach nourishments, you name it. And part of our work is, of course, checking the environment and making sure that we safeguard the environment against any impacts that these hard structures are imposing. Next, Vera, please. I would like to just speak about, for example, one project that we're doing in Lebanon, and Vera had an input in that, I guess, and that's Fishery Harbor in Minye. We are currently working with the Ministry of Environment on an EIA, a comprehensive EIA with our local colleagues. I believe that they are with us here on the webinar, to produce an environmental impact assessment report that actually states all the requirements and state all the impacts that could happen and what mitigation measures that we can actually use to mitigate any impacts that we have. Now, three main items. First of all, what we do usually is we collect data. Okay, we collect data to actually model and simulate the shoreline and study the impact of this structure on the shoreline. So data is really important, and that's and Mr. Ziad Samah has part about deploying the first ever buoy in the coastal waters of Lebanon is really interesting. This sheds the light that and says that we don't have much data. So the more data we have, the better and the more accurate simulations and modeling we can simulate by our shoreline, so as to understand the impact. So that's really very exciting to have a buoy deployed in the Lebanese water. Knowing that there's a lack of data in Lebanon, we usually go to regional databases. And one of the main things here is the technologically advanced tools that we currently have that we can use. I'm not sure if you're, I'm sure that most of you are familiar, but for example, I'm implementing or using satellite-derived bathymetry in projects around the GCC countries. And these are basically providing bathymetric survey or contour depth to using satellite imagery, and that's a fabulous tool. And it actually is produced in a fraction of the time in comparison to the actual survey, and for a fraction of the price, and it covers miles and miles or kilometers, huge areas, which give very valuable input to designers like us. I'm not the environmentalist, but I can see that there are tools that could give you seafloor and subsurface reflectance, benthic cover and habitat mapping, water quality monitoring, shoreline mapping. All these tools now can be attained using imagery, satellite imagery, with specialized contractors, consultants or contractors around the world, or suppliers that could actually supply this. So we need to push, and I believe we need to push to acquire or use these tools to better understand our coastal regime. This leads me to a challenge here now that I face, or I can, from my experience on working with the Lebanese on the Lebanese shorelines. The key issue here, or my observation of things, is that designers like myself need to use innovative solutions to hard structures in the sea. I mean, we have to think of innovation. Unfortunately, in Lebanon, you know, there's a bit of rigidity in using new tools. For example, I'm not sure if that applies properly, but if you noticed, for example, most of the Lebanese coastline has lately, at least in the past 10 years, used acropods, for example, as concrete units. Acropods are concrete armor units used for breakwaters or to shelter any harbor behind it. Why? There's a question. I mean, why only acropods, for example, or why acropods are really all over the place, knowing that there's more than 30 different concrete armor units out there in the world patented. So I don't know. Maybe that's a reflectance, or that's an indication that we have a rigidity in innovation, or a rigidity in accepting new innovative methods to actually build these hard structures. So my recommendation, in a nutshell, would be to, as designers, as coastal designers, coastal civil engineer designers, to use innovative material, environmentally friendly material like geomembranes, geobags. We have to always think of pushing decision makers to embrace new innovations that we didn't see yet in Lebanon, at least in major fishery, ports, marinas project. I'm not sure about environmental, let's say, led projects, but for civil and ports related project, I don't think we see that innovation in the designing. So my role here is to try to push this innovative side of things and try to adopt new technologies and new methods of designing these hard structures. Actually, these are the couple of things that I want to say, Vera. Thank you a lot for having me. Hope I didn't take much of the time, and thank you again.